No, I didn't miss
You
the
did.
exit. Well, I did, but it was because of his positioning.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we're heading east on Del Perro, coming out of the tunnel. The person was to the left of a local. They swerved right and took the first exit to Upper La Porta. I could have swerved and I could have made it, but Victor was in the way, right? So I take the next exit. Whichever the like Palomino, whichever one it is. I'm now up there, and I'm literally parallel to the vehicle we're chasing, and I see that Victor has not yielded to Lucas, who is right behind him, and he's now holding Lucas back from pursuing this vehicle. I checked my GPS to see exactly who it is, so I could have a conversation with him afterwards, right? I realized it was Victor. I called him once the situation concluded, and upon calling him, he immediately knew what was up. Like right from the start, he's like, he identified the issue. Had a conversation with him, and then I spoke with Lucas, who, Lucas at the time was not very happy, rightfully so. But I'm thinking this is something that could potentially happen to anybody, right? Like, you're just the wrong place. It's really inconvenient, but like, it is what it is. Then I spoke with King, and King had mentioned something that made it seem like things were trending to like him no longer being employed after conversations with either Maple or Davenport or something. I don't know the situation. And then I was like, wait, what? Because I did my constructive criticism and feedback to Victor, and I was like, keep on improving and whatnot. And again, he took it very well. Then if I recall correctly, I had a conversation with Maple, who kind of I don't know, I forget exactly how it all went down. It was a few weeks ago, but like, it's sounding like he was then given a 2-week probationary period to like prove that he can do it, except now he's just going to be walking on fucking eggshells, like. And I don't know how that, like, straight up, if it came to that, like, I don't know, the 2-week probationary period I think is a little silly, because it seems like everyone's dead set on firing him. And so I don't know. I also still have the argument of, people don't realize this, but the consistent bodies in shift 3 are so important for follow-up shifts as well. Because I'll tell you what, if I get on duty and there's 1 or 2 other people on duty, maybe I'll stick around, but there's a high chance I'm going to be looking to do something else.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, I do that as well. Like, if I see 2 officers on duty, I'm not gonna be a hostage simulator sometimes. Like, sometimes I just don't feel like that.
100%. And so I'm sitting here like weighing the pros and cons of like, what are the pros of firing Victor?
I don't think there's
Slight delayed comms in a pursuit, or no comms because there's no body there. Like, I'm trying to logically work this through my mind, and the math is not mathing.
I would assume that the people that told him that he was looking at being fired would rather not have them there instead of mauling at the comms.
It's just awareness in general. I don't think like it's just like, I don't think it's just language barrier. Like, I think the awareness and how to read things. Like, there's been a couple situations where Victor has acted a bit, where someone raises an eyebrow on situations. And reading things and awareness in general is something that he lacks. But at the same time, shift 3 is rough. It's bad. So we need you need bodies as well.
Hey, Davenport.
Hello.
You were on
PIT trials.
No, you were on. Wait, were you not on the street race stuff?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I would have called you in because we were talking about Victor.
Okay.
So the last I heard was that, well, Victor told me today that he was given, I don't know if it was by you or Maple, but like a 2-week probationary period.
Yeah, I gave him 2 weeks.
And it's when was that?
I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember. It's probably close to 2 weeks.
Yeah, he said it was coming to an end, and I'm sitting here like weighing the pros and cons of getting rid of Victor, and I can definitely see where people are coming from regarding like some of the problems, and truthfully, again, we don't know if some of those things, especially like, you know, sort of language barrier related stuff, is going to be able to be resolved. Like at the end of the day, like that is the unfortunate reality. But I realistically don't see the benefit, and this is just my personal opinion. I want to make this very clear. Obviously, you know, while I am shift 3, especially as of recent since being asked chief, like, and also having surgery and whatnot, like I haven't been around too often, but like, I don't see where getting rid of Victor ends up being like a net positive, not a net positive, but like not a downside overall. It's like I don't know. I'm so torn on this because again, it's specific to shift 3. Like someone as consistent as him in terms of being around, and that's not the only aspect of the job. But like, I'm just saying, I would prefer Victor on duty than not having Victor at all type stuff.
I have the same mindset because he's around when no one else wants to be. So
exactly.
People that think he's an issue, if they're willing to come around at the times that he's around and fill in his shoes, no problem at all. But no one's willing to do it. So I did tell him that he was to stay strictly in shift 3. He's not to go on duty in any other shift. But I gave him, essentially gave him 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I said the main problem was his communication, is he just needs to communicate on radio with every single thing that he's doing. And then if the radio is busy, 311, don't cut in and speak over people.
I mean, straight up reference the 311s during all of those prior situations. He was 311ing that he needed 77s for fucking calls, 311ing that he would like. I don't know, man. I can agree.
He has been speaking up more on radio too, so
I can agree that in shift 1 things might just be too fast paced. 1000%. I don't necessarily see that being an issue in 3. And I stand by the whole aspect of like people being on duty attracts other people being on duty. And I'm not saying let's just keep Victor for the sake of having a body, right? Like his paperwork, I don't think has ever been called into question. Sure.
Look at the phone subpoena he just did.
He did a phone subpoena?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember. Something 934, I think was the last 3. 34934 maybe. You should see it in the recent reports anyway. You phone subpoena on whiskey something, Whiskey King. Yeah, 33934.
Yeah. I mean, at this stage of his employment, I don't agree with firing. However, he will be limited. Like for example, King and I have banned him from being co-pilot on R1 because we're not having him doing comms on R1.
Like that's understandable.
That's understandable, but that's also so many people should be banned from being fucking co-pilots.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to be more strict. I think, like, at least I haven't heard it, but like Perry sometimes, holy fuck, when he's on R1, like, had to 10-3 him because like he was just like telling a novel, like on R1. But that's just Perry, and he can lock in whenever we tell him to.
I mean, just in general, like co-pilot comms are like 10 times fucking harder than.
I mean, they're arguably the hardest,
officer.
Like directional pursuit comms. Yeah, for sure. Because you're not over the direct street. You're flying on a street parallel or even super far away from. Like you have to know these things off the top of your head, and there can be no delay. Like you have to do your absolute best. I got an Air 1 not too long ago, and I sat there and I was like, "Holy fuck, I ain't done this in a while." You know, like,
yeah.
But yeah, like I find those things to be reasonable restrictions for Victor, and they wouldn't be any different than another officer who's just not comfortable in Air 1 doing comms.
Yeah.
I think restricting Victor in shift 3 like is fine. Like I don't see the need of firing him anymore. I mean, I think it's beyond that point in my opinion.
The other side is he maybe needs to get pushed into the deep end to deal with the craziness of shift 1.
I disagree. Like he shuts
I
down
don't think that'll
immediately, and
work,
yeah, that's not gonna work.
That
From my
was,
understanding, he gets
Maples.
flustered. And I don't know who I was having this conversation with a few weeks ago, but like regarding Victor specifically, listen, I only speak English. I speak Spanish here and there, okay? But I only speak
let's hear
English.
some.
And how many times have you guys heard me specifically say, fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? It's on the tip of my tongue. Okay? Now imagine English not being your first language and you looking for that word. All right? And yes, the situation you're in is fairly time sensitive, but like, this isn't necessarily an excuse for him, to be very clear. But the point I'm making is like, yes, when you have to take in a bunch of information and there's so much shit happening all at once, you are going to run into situations in which you're flustered, right? Like you have to mentally prioritize every single thing that you're doing while simultaneously communicating everything to the PD. And like the poor guy, you know, he's just talking to me, not as chief, just Rhodes. And you know, it's like he's walking on eggshells, and
Victor.
it's like, I
Alright,
feel
this is
bad. Like genuinely, I feel bad.
Yeah.
Because when I'm on duty with him in shift 3, I would argue that like well over 90% of what he does is perfectly fine. Absolutely no issue. I wouldn't complain. He has done some questionable things, yes. Like I distinctly recall he went to a 24/7 just to collect the hostage and ended up getting shot off of Clinton, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that situation was questionable. And I don't remember if he had given attitude to an individual or something to that extent, but like, teachable moment, very teachable moment. But Davenport, I guess you would have probably the most insight regarding this. Like, you are on duty damn near every day, if not every single day, right? Like, straight up, if Victor was fired tomorrow, what do you think the consequence of that is?
Oh, it would just mean that I'd be on duty by myself the majority of the shift.
And that's exactly what I'm concerned about.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that's worth it.
Everyone lives under this delusion that the numbers aren't that bad, but there's 2
They
to
are.
3 days a week where the numbers are good, and the rest of the time there's fucking no one around.
No,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
shift 3
Been saying
numbers
this
are
for
pretty damn
months.
bad.
Hey, King.
What's the beef?
Well, we're talking about Victor, because there is, essentially he was given like a 2-week sort of probationary period, and it's coming to an end. I had a conversation with Victor, and he definitely feels like he's walking on eggshells, but I think we're kind of coming to the agreement that Victor... Ooh. Hello.
It's Maeve.
Victor is realistically someone who got promoted too early.
Yeah.
Someone who was sort of pushed in a sink or swim, except when he was sinking, they ignored it. And I mean, he's paddling, you know, he's doing the doggy paddle out there in the middle of the ocean. He's not necessarily sinking, but he can't keep up with shift 1, for example. When things start getting faster paced, which shift 3 is not. Shift 3 is very hit or miss regarding calls. He's fine in shift 3 for an overwhelming majority of it. And I think at this point it would be a net negative. Don't get me wrong, he's not perfect. I'm going to make that very clear. He's not perfect. None of us are perfect, okay? And yes, he might have bigger issues than some, But like Davenport, who works alongside him every single day, is pretty much saying that if Victor wasn't there, it would literally just be Davenport. And like no one wants that either.
It's about to be a 78 call, by the way.
Oh gosh.
So
It's a bank truck.
one thing with the promoting Victor early, I think it's more like PNT as a whole, right? I think, like in my opinion, from observing PNT, is that
I got a picture of the person in the
unless
black,
like
there's a
it's
black
firing out
mark,
of
there's a white,
inactivity,
there's a
like
black
firings never occur
t-shirt.
anymore.
He
And
has some
Victor's
the garage as
situation
on top there, I can
was
see
that he was
Just
I don't
in the
remember
back.
how long he was a PPO. He was a PPO for far too long. It was like way beyond 30 days. I don't remember the exact number.
I don't
But
believe I can see the
he
car.
had like an absorbent amount of FTO sessions. His PPO phase was extremely long, and obviously like then came the decision to promote him to see the sink or sim situation. But
They're done.
um,
They're done.
that's
You
that's
gotta,
an,
with that being said, though, Espinosa, you got to understand that when you've got cadets and PPOs early in shift 3, and the people don't turn up on duty, you don't have the opportunity to either you ignore everything that goes on in the city and just focus on them, or you try and do your best to cover some stuff, you know. So it's not that easy to focus on one person when there's limited units on duty, and they're going to need a lot of time, you know.
no, I get that. I was just saying like the PNT system as a whole. It's like I feel like there's no, especially like I don't think we do final evils anymore, right? So like I think shift 1 does them.
That's not true.
Again?
They do final evals.
Well,
It's just not like the cadet would
It's
not
not
know
a
about
super
it.
formal. Yeah.
At least when I was running PNT, final evaluations were happening for every person. They just did not know about it.
Okay. I just think that the I don't know, like the whole like a lot of people get promoted, and it's not just Victor's case that are not ready sometimes, and it's like just like
I think that's
I don't know.
it's probably true. I mean, like I can use Brandy as an example. I promoted Brandy before she was ready 100%. Brandy was running around getting fucking taught as a PPO by Anita, but that was like a luxury that we had at that time where I was able to promote Brandy early because I knew she wasn't really going to get much from forcing an FTO to take her out every day. And her good friend Anita would sit there and teach her the same way that you guys did when I was promoted like way too fucking early. I was promoted and then sent to shift 3 with like a crumb of knowledge after being a non-solo cadet for like a year and getting the most shit FTOs that I've ever seen in my entire life.
I remember.
And then I got solo cadet in like 2 weeks or something of sitting with like a couple people from shift 3. I will say though, personally, especially maybe not around the time that Victor was hired, but now, and honestly, the time that Victor was hired, what you're saying about firings doesn't surprise me. Shift 3 didn't really have the luxury to fire. There's like not a lot of handfuls to pick from. If you only have 5 people that you can pick from and you got 2 people coming on duty every day, 9 times out of 10, you're going to want to hire that 5. I don't have access to the applications anymore, but I'll tell you that if I checked the applications back then and I saw 5 people applied for shift 3, about 50 had applied for shift 2, and about maybe like another 50 applied for shift 1 in comparison, just to make that like the grand scheme. Like the other shifts like nowadays, and even then had 100 more people that they could pick from than people wanting to work shift 3. And that's without the outstanding factor of you would do a cadet class. Let's say maybe we got 10 of them.
Was a blue and colored helicopter as well flying off.
3 months from then, you were only retaining 2, maybe 3 if you're lucky, 5. Of
Is that a
training
shift
10.
issue or is that who we're hiring issue?
So it's
I think that's
that's kind of
always been that way.
It's a shift issue, and it's been like that ever since way back when that I remember. And it's because out of those 5 people, you'll only retain 2 because 3 of them didn't want that shift anyway. They just wanted to get hired.
Yeah.
I mean, King, I
And-
don't
and
know
no
if
one
you
will ever
heard,
be
but
honest about that.
there's the job fair that happened in shift 2, and a few of those people, when I say a few, anywhere from 3 to 5 of them who didn't get accepted or whatever, ended up applying to the shift 3 job fair for BCSO, simultaneously claiming they could do shift 3 hours.
Oh hell no,
Right.
they'll be
But, well,
instant
but I mean,
denied.
and it's
But-
I
but
even
they're
use
doing it.
myself as
They're
the
doing it.
comparison. I'm not an Australian girl.
Yeah,
I
well,
was
here's the
crazy
thing.
in those night owl for forever, but
But
sometimes y'all get Australians, they're not sticking.
Well, the
okay?
reason I
Idiots
say it
not
is
know we can
because-
see through that like a mile away. Like it's so obvious.
well, their expectation is using it as a stepping stone and then eventually transferring.
Yeah, or just fire them.
But point being, at the end of the day, shift 3 would still be the one shafted no matter what, because they either
Every time.
leave, get fired, transfer, or whatever, or like slowly start to delve into other shifts, and then you barely start seeing them in shift 3. Then we're back at square one with very few people.
And no
So it's
matter
like-
what, you are draining an FTO's energy
Yes,
because
100%.
again, we've all
That's the
FTO'd.
biggest thing.
You can only do so much. So at the start of someone's career, they're like, "Yes, I want to train people. Yes, 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 yes." They'll train for a couple months and then they're over it because again, there's no
Rightfully
reward
so.
to do that
Yeah.
shit. Like literally at the fuck all, especially now, you don't get anything fucking cool of luxury. There's literally no plus to fucking teaching someone unless you actually like it. And so, especially during those times that you'll get the people like that, that's still, let's say you started that cadet class with 10 FTOs, you'll be lucky if you have 5 at the end, of it.
I feel
And
like
it's
I'm
like an
FTOing every
unending
time I
cycle.
lead a fucking scene out there. So
Well, I
frankly,
mean,
taking an actual cadet
too.
seems like a nightmare to me. To be honest.
I mean, exactly.
Leading a scene is literally
Like, I
playing
could
an
not train
RTS.
someone at this
Yeah.
point. Like, I'm not interested.
You
but
have to tell
I think
people
that's
when
the
to
mindset of
breathe.
A lot of people.
All right, guys, breathe now. Okay,
Right.
good. In and out.
Like,
Good job.
yeah.
It's true though. It's true. And
It's. I
Keep
think
doing
that's
that
why I
until I
have a
tell
lot
you to
more
do different.
sympathy. I feel bad because
Yeah, if it's empty.
even
Yeah,
if we
no.
did everything
would-
right, I think it's like a lose-lose.
Hey,
Like the
Jen.
odds are stacked against people like
Oh,
that, no
100%.
matter what.
you have to have
Yeah.
a very certain mindset or a very restrictive schedule to be willing to see shift 3 like from start to finish. There aren't many people who can do it. And listen, I'll take Victor's delayed comms over not having Victor at all. That's my end stance, even if we have to restrict him from shift 1 because it may be too fast paced.
Yeah.
I like
Can I
my
offer
my
a different mindset on that? Which
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
don't disagree with yours. But at what point do we say we've exhausted all efforts here?
I don't necessarily know that we. That call was actually made, from my understanding, back when
yeah.
when he was a wee little cadet, but then he was pushed through sink or swim. He was
stupid
sinking,
decision.
and then it was determined that he didn't drown, and therefore he swam. And honestly, it's kind of a failure on our end to have pushed it as long. But now it's like, again, I don't see shift 3 without Victor. As fucked up as that sounds, Davenport.
No, I don't want to see him go. I'm just saying, like, I don't know what, like, there's been so many conversations about Victor. I feel like we've had this conversation before. Me personally, I don't know what else to do for him. I've seen conversations happen with him, and the next day I get on duty, the information's just not been retained. That's all. And they, like Esme said, he's had a shitload of FTO sessions. He was a PPO for a really long time. I just don't know what else to do. But at the same time, I don't want to lose him because I agree with you. I think he's a really big part of Shift 3, and I think he's great. So I don't want to lose him. But like, at what point do you say, well, what else? Like, what, you know what I mean?
That's why I'm so conflicted.
So my thoughts on Victor are that he can function fine as a regular police officer. I think at this point, like from the teaching points, like I don't think anybody can do anything to help him in regards to comms or awareness. Like I think that's like you training someone on that, like at the stage that Victor is, like it's not gonna work. So like I think that him as a basic officer and regular officer in shift 3 that limits himself to shift 3 is fine. But I don't know. Like I think that um like FTOing him or just riding with them like that's not things that you will fix like with them.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
know.
the
He's saying about
sink or
his comps.
swim, well, I think the sink or swim promoting him from PPO to officer was sink or swim, but I'm also gonna tie one of your arms to your waist so you can only use one arm. Because I told Rhodes earlier, I think there was a lapse in his training and that he shouldn't have been pushed through, but now he has been pushed through, and it's kind of our responsibility to fix that. I just got off the phone with him. I'm taking him out tomorrow, and I will do what I can. Because he is around very consistently, and I understand wanting to keep him in shift 3 because it is a more slow-paced shift. But sometimes people do need that hectic environment around them to learn how to deal with it and improve on their own abilities.
He's been there, Daisy. It's not gonna work. Like he should not touch
Well,
shift 1.
Was anybody with him, or was he just left to his own devices in the shift?
I think
one-
No, I
he-
didn't have anybody with him. No, because if he's a PPO, I expect him to perform as a PPO. So if he comes into my shift, I expect him to actually know what he's doing. That's sorry, but that's how I feel about it. Got enough liabilities.
What were you gonna say, Lucas?
I was just gonna say, I like again, like I'm not saying that I'm comparable to Victor because I think his issues, like, and again, these are issues that I pointed out in hiring, and the only reason why the hiring went through from like a high command aspect was because of the word of individuals saying that they would themselves like handpick, sit down, and train him. Is like the issue between shifts and like needing that, like I can relate to, but again, I wasn't sent out into those shifts alone. I at least had a close friend that was comfortable to make someone that wasn't comfy be able to feel comfy, if that makes sense. I think he probably does need to experience that a little bit, a more hectic pace. I mean, even just going into the like, let's say like this portion of shift 1, what it's about to be shift 1 in like 30 minutes or something, I think.
Yeah.
Like, and like being able to just sit with someone and just like soak in a crazy scene a couple days would do like a lot. But that's up to people who are willing to do so, and that I think that's like the other side of the coin is there's not many. You can say that you're willing, but in action, most people are not up to the challenge of
Yeah.
actually training. And
Um,
that's to no fault of their own, but it's just reality.
one of the things that was brought up was that when Victor speaks up, his comms are fine. I don't necessarily know what that is. That just like raising his tone, and then he doesn't sound like he's mumbling. Because I was told that a lot of his comms sound like he's mumbling.
Yeah, yeah, which is one of the things I told him. If he speaks from the chest and actually, speaks a little louder or whatever, even if he thinks he's speaking too loud, I'd rather that than him not, him being timid on the radio. He's absolutely fine. You can understand him totally, and his stuff's so much clearer. If you had been around earlier, there's some zombie outbreak or something, and I don't know. But when he was talking on the radio, then actually you were there, Daisy, because that's when I got on duty.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing wrong with these comms. Like you could hear him perfectly on the radio, because I don't know. It's like how would you say it? Excitement in his voice, I guess. A little bit of an intense situation where he,
Yeah,
he reacted appropriately, and then you can hear him clear as day on the radio.
I felt so
Which
bad
is what
because
I've
I
been
was
trying to tell him to do for the longest time now, and he's only recently started speaking louder on the radio.
Well, it's probably because of the 2-week period he got.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It-
that was more of a.
yeah,
I wasn't
I
going to
get
say
what
like
you're
at the end
saying.
of the 2 weeks, be like, okay, well, that's it. You didn't cut it. See you later. It was more of a point like that's how serious it is. You need to actually work on these things that I've told you, and yeah,
Radio check.
because a lot
What?
of it is
Too.
stuff that he just has to do himself. You're not going to be able to sit there and be like constantly saying, speak from the chest, speak from the chest, speak from the chest, sort of thing. He's got to literally just do it every time he speaks.
Yeah, 100%.
I got a question about the. So you guys want to put him into shift 1 to do some training? He's already done the sink or swim thing and has failed it. How is putting him into a crazy environment going to help him?
Dispatch to 40.
We already know he
Uh,
can't cope. Like, how is that gonna? What's that gonna do?
I mean, it wasn't my recommendation, but from my understanding, the difference here would be he'd be alongside someone. I imagine sort of giving tips in real time, so that he's not
much.
failing.
That was my thought
Then being
process.
given feedback afterwards, but everyone has already seen the failure and is judging him on the failure, and that like it's sort of like the proactive how to avoid the failure to begin with, as opposed to the failure happened, you fucked up, do better. In the typical, hey, you shouldn't do that, or him being approached again afterwards and being told that feedback.
I mean, it's not like nobody was with him. Like, I did 8 hours with him, and like, yeah, 8 hours might not be a lot for people, but I tried. And like, the second we got to shift 1, it's either the second he starts getting tired because he's been around shift 3, like you can see the decline in awareness and paying attention to stuff, and even with someone in the passenger seat like myself, and tell him to like say, okay, remember step 1, step 2, step 3, we're arriving at a 24/7, make sure you relay information, like reminding him the steps, like he would just space out. And like, I don't know, like if you guys think that's fine, hey, go for it.
He did just tell me on the phone that he knows once he's been on duty for like 8 hours or something, then he doesn't function as well. So he gets off duty after 8 hours, even if the like keeping him in shift 3 wasn't a thing. So 8 hours is pretty much his cutoff, where he's gonna go off duty after that.
I mean, I definitely think
And
that's
that's
valid,
normal. Girl,
especially.
my ass starts to get the fuck delusional after 8 damn hours running around this bitch. I
Yeah.
start to go fucking crazy. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like when I say like the shift 1 thing, I'm not saying, yeah, get on duty at fucking midnight, bitch. Start a shift 3. Stay through all the hours of shift 3 and then pop in a shift 1 and say, hey, y'all. No one is saying that because I can't even fucking do that anymore. I'm not built for that shit anymore. I will fall the fuck over and collapse. But like, again, I'm just using my thing because I think we're like the topic of time is being brought up a lot. And I'm not saying that this is what happened here. He doesn't get the excuses that I do. I actually really did get some fucking shitty ass FTOs that
You were like left like a little ant, and they
No.
put you like in a swimming
Well,
pool or something.
I mean, like literally like a little fawn, a cute fawn, and put him just into the fucking burning hell pit of fire of hell. That's what the fuck happened to me. So I was a cadet for a very long time, but still, you saw Lucas Lavender, the motherfucking baddie. Look at me now.
I gotta
But-
be honest with you guys before I gotta say this. I'm sorry for interrupting.
No, you're fine.
I genuinely think that you're fighting a losing battle, and I've been doing this a very long time. Sometimes some people just aren't cut out to be officers. I don't know what to say. Yeah, that's it. I think it's admirable that we're still trying to help him, but at some point I think we just gotta cut the fucking cord, because how much effort over the past however long he's been hired has gone into trying to sort this situation out. And I'm not saying this, I don't like him. I think he's fantastic. I don't want him to go anywhere, but like, we've had all these conversations, we've done all these different things. I don't think it's going to help anything. I'm willing to see what happens, but and maybe I'm kind of cynical about it, but all of my experiences is telling me this is a waste of time. To be
No, I
honest.
think you're valid in thinking that way. Again, I think it's up to the people who were super eager in hiring him in the first place, and again spoke up and said that this is someone that they really wanted in the shift and that they wanted to teach. If they are still up to the challenge, then keep him. If you're no longer up to that challenge and you can, recognize that I just don't think this is going to work out, letting him go would cause you less stress.
I don't know. I just had to say that. I mean, I really hope I'm wrong. I genuinely do, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't try and help them at this point. I'll do any of the ideas that have been put forward. I just gotta give my opinion. I don't think it's gonna help anything. I don't think it's gonna change shit. So, but I genuinely, I really hope I'm wrong. I really do, because I really like Victor. He's great. Always puts his foot forward with stuff, even if he's unsure on something. Came to me asking me about a subpoena yesterday, and I told him I'd have a look at it and give him feedback after he finished it, because looking at stuff that isn't finished is not really any point. Yeah. So I don't know. I do think he's a great guy, but I just
Did you
I
see
don't
the
know.
job that he did on it? Speaking of the subpoena.
I haven't seen it. He didn't come to me saying it was finished, so I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, no, it was finished. I signed it just before.
Perfect.
Double 3934 is probably one of the best I've seen. Really, not one of the best, but it's up there with detail and stuff like that.
Fantastic.
Even like the formatting and clarity of everything.
Hmm.
See, like I see stuff like this, and then it takes me back to that traffic stop that I was witnessing a couple of weeks ago, Davenport. Like I look at this report and I'm thinking, okay, fantastic. This guy knows what he's doing. I watch his traffic stops. It's like watching a fucking cadet do it in training, in academy.
Yeah, I did.
So
I spoke to him after that. I'm not sure whether I think I actually did tell you. I did speak to him after that, and that was when I was made aware that he only has hearing in one ear. So mixed with the fact that he
Wait,
struggles.
I was not made aware of that. Oh,
Yeah. That's why sometimes you'll talk to him and you just won't get an answer, and that's because he just simply doesn't hear you. So if someone's talking to him, he doesn't have the option of being able to. Well, I don't know, because both my ears work perfectly fine. But if I don't know, like I'm guessing if you're concentrating on what one person's saying and then trying to decipher it to a language that you're familiar with, alongside not being able to hear out of the other ear, it would be very easy just to not pick up on what people are saying to you because you're focused so much on working out what people are saying, you know?
Yeah, true.
And even like things that you would use in your day-to-day life of lip reading and stuff would not be as easy to do.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of power, like brain power, you gotta also use when you're translating stuff. Like when, like I don't know, like I don't know how long he's been in Los Santos, but like I can tell like he probably like he's just fucking processing everything that's happening and translating from English to German to English. I can get that too.
Well, fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I spoke to one of the people that actually complained about it. I spoke to him and said, like, what was the major thing that you had an issue with him, so that I can try and work with him with it and make sure that it doesn't happen again. And they said just the fact that they can't understand him, the fact they couldn't understand him, and the fact that he wouldn't answer on radio. Which after the traffic stop, I spoke to him, and which was terrible. I've seen cadets that have never done one before do a better job than what he did at that point in time. But in saying that, it's understandable as to why that does happen at times. Because I think if there's too many people talking at once, and then you've got the normal radio chatter going on alongside, you know, you're trying to talk to a couple of people sitting in a car, I can see why it was the way it was, where he just wasn't saying anything. Because, yeah, that would be a lot of, that'd be a lot to try and handle with all that shit going on, you know?
Damn.
It is, I agree, but the hearing what we're saying on radio isn't exactly the only issue, is it?
Oh no, definitely not. Definitely not. I'm just saying from.
But I agree. I completely agree with you. I mean, my sister back in the UK is fully deaf in one ear as well, and probably going deaf in the other. So I get it completely. It's fucking awful. That's like, to me, that traffic stop was like watching somebody from Academy do it, and this wasn't because he wasn't listening on radio. It was how he was conducting it. He didn't know what he was doing at all.
Yeah, so, no, that's what I said. It was, I've seen people like that do better jobs from Academy, so to speak. So,
has anyone run into any 38s with Victor as of recent?
No, I need to attach to some of his calls, to be honest.
Because I kind of also fear that Given again, I spoke with him today. He definitely feels as though that 2-week period, he's sort of walking on eggshells and is kind of like under the assumption he's gonna get fired. It sounds like in the very short amount of time I've been around as of recent that he's playing more of a support role to not be in the way with some of the things that have been acknowledged as problems, like his communication, for example. Like, in just about every pursuit that's happened, I've seen Victor 311, like, continuously. Requesting 77s, or, he's en route to whatever he was doing, it was via 311 because there were active comms happening. And I question if he's doing that so that he doesn't fuck anything up. I don't know. I think
doing that. I actually told him to do that. I said if the radio is busy and there's an
100%.
situation,
Yeah,
and
311.
you respond to something else, please 311, because when you because he originally he would just be like cut in and say that he's 76 to like a 24/7 or something in the middle of like pursuit comms.
Yes.
And you'd be like, okay.
I can't stand people stepping over other people on radio. Oh my gosh, biggest pet peeve. In my whole PD career, that is my biggest pet peeve. Holy fuck.
So it's actually good to see him actually doing that when the radio is busy.
100%. Yeah, this is a tough one. I
my
think,
opinion,
I
if
think
he
at the end of the
sticks to shift
day,
three,
yeah, that's my
he'll
thing.
be fine. That's my opinion. Like, and I don't know. Like, shift 3 is down horrendous in numbers, so I think that, like you said, Rose, I think cutting him instead of, I don't know, like, or like firing him instead of keeping him would do more harm. But again, it's just like, I don't know. Tough.
Here's my like overall final analysis of the situation. I think in an overwhelming majority of the categories, he is very fucking good. And then you jump into like comms and like general awareness, and things get pretty rough. And obviously the situation with the traffic stop, I'm gonna be real. In shift 3, if there's a traffic stop, if there's no other call, I'm absolutely attaching to it. In saying that, have I seen a traffic stop from Victor as of recent? No, I definitely think we should watch that. But overall, back to what I was saying. If I had to give him a overall grade, like with how good his paperwork is and like general knowledge behind stuff and his willingness to ask questions that most people probably wouldn't, I'd probably put him at like a C, somewhere around a C. But like the unfortunate reality is those specific problems like really tank an otherwise relatively solid officer. But there genuinely may not be a solution outside of making sure he's not putting himself in a super fast-paced environment where he's guaranteed to drown, unless there's someone with him, which is why realistically there's no harm with him going with Daisy, because if things go wrong, Daisy is there to acknowledge, correct, and even take over immediately because she was present for the entire thing. Like, there's no downside to it. And if at the end of it things don't go according to plan, then I don't know. Like I said, it's not ideal, but I think the biggest thing is we restrict him to shift 3, not as a punishment, but it's just the environment that he can excel in, and then go from there. And I don't mean this as a we're just going to hold him until we have enough bodies to replace him, because that's equally as fucked up. I actually really take issue with that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough one.
In saying that, though, he has come a long way to what he was.
Oh, absolutely. Especially
He's still,
from...
There's still like glaring issues, but he is like way better than what he was. like take back 2 months or whatever, and he's like twice the officer he's today what he was then. Does that even make sense?
Yeah.
That's funny how
I know. We know exactly what you're saying. Don't worry. All right. I don't want to go in circles any further.
No
but
circles. Yeah.
Daisy, I do appreciate that you are taking him tomorrow.
Yeah, no problem.
What did you guys say? What time?
Like 3 hours into shift 3.
Okay. So 3 hours into 3. So is the expectation that he's doing like 8 hours? So 3 into 1 question mark with you?
Whatever he's like wanting to do for a shift.
Okay.
We have the start time. It's just whenever he wants to end or whenever I want to end.
Got it. Okay. My only ask is that I don't even have to tell you this. I was gonna say, you know, if the sinking is acknowledged, it just take over, so it's not it's not
Yeah.
an issue for one. We'll
That's
figure
my
it out.
specialty is grabbing people when they start sinking.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I also think if that, like, if we acknowledge like we're keeping him for 3, and limiting him to 3, that we also inform him that 2-week thing is over, so he doesn't feel as though any one tiny move is going to get him fired, because then you're just bound to make mistakes when you sit there and have to second guess, you know, everything.
Where did the 2-week thing come from?
Davenport had a conversation with him. It's not intended to be 2 weeks, and if you don't improve, you're fired, as much as it is like, hey, you got to take the feedback we're providing you seriously. And so, from my understanding, it's more so we're going to see where you stand in 2 weeks. Is that correct, Davenport? Is that good?
Well, I know when Maple spoke to me, he said that there was talks of firing him, and I brought up the thing where I said, "What if we give him a couple of weeks and just like basically tell him that you got a couple of weeks to smarten your footwork up, otherwise, you know,
Come
there's
to
a chance
Jesus
that
moment.
you may not have a job anymore if you can't fix these issues that are going on. You'd really need to work on them in the next 2 weeks, and we'll go from there. You know."
Has there
So that's
been
where the
any
2 weeks come
notable
from.
improvement in that time?
I've had 100%. He's been 311ing every time that he needs to without cutting in on the radio. He's been speaking up on the radio when he has to. There's been a couple of times though where he's been quiet on the radio, but he kind of corrects himself and then speaks louder, you know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
And-
like basically confidence, right? Like, if I mean, shit, when I was a cadet, I probably mumbled a fuck ton. But obviously, the more confident you get, the less you do that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of his comes from the fact of it's more he's worried about what he says because obviously English not being his first language, and he's worried that he comes across the wrong way. Because I know when I said to him about speaking up, he said I'm kind of scared to do that because people think I'm angry when I speak louder because of my accent and being like German, you know.
Ain't no
I
one in
mean,
shift 3 gonna give a fuck.
Yeah,
And
you just got to not care about that. I mean, I get
Yeah.
that too.
Well, I mean, yeah, I get that every
If
day.
people are
but-
soft cunts, they'll always be soft cunts. Nothing you're going to do is going to change them, you know?
Yeah,
And I
that's true.
said to him, well, if the thing is, like, if you only do that every now and then, people will take it as if, like, you're raising your voice and you may be upset about something. Whereas if you speak like that constantly all the time, people won't even bat an eyelid to it, you know? It'll just be like, oh, that's Victor.
100%.
So,
All right. Well, that's going to be the game plan regarding Victor. How have things in shift 1, King? King?
Wait, sorry, what was the question?
Oh, I was saying, how are
My
things?
apologies.
How are things in shift 1?
Oh, yeah, it's been fine. Nothing really abnormal. We've had lots of bank truck stuff. We've had lots of different chases, S-boost races. People have been focusing on that. We've had people doing the drug stuff, which has been great. We've actually been getting a decent amount of rest, which have been nice to see, to be honest. Had a big shootout yesterday for Luca's, not Luca, for Lovemore's warrant, and it was like I was very happy with what PD did yesterday. It was great. It was an actual proper use of units and immediately acting instead of faffing around and getting killed one by one. It was me leading it, so that's why I'm saying that. But I had, it was like, you know, popular, the train area that Keo uses or French guy uses to, you know, the Keo skip on the train tracks under popular.
Mhm.
So we had him in cuffs there. They came in, tried to do the, you know, pick him up, put him in car stuff, people getting beaten down. So they stopped that. They backed off, and then I went up on the freeway alone, and then they started shooting. I managed to survive that. Pred was like bashing them and helped save me, which is pretty cool. And then I had all units go back on that position because we had triage inside of popular Benny's. And then they went for Sparks, who was on top of the Maibatsu roof. So as soon as we saw they were all there, I had every single unit pile onto them in their position, and we got all of them. It was over in
It's good.
10 minutes or something.
I think our biggest downfall in those large scale situations is we are way too reactive. We sit here and have a bunch of people in positions, and then we identify people who are consolidating on a location, and then rarely ever move on anything, like at all. We let them; they'll get shot. We'll let them drive off, repair their car, throw on a tourniquet, whatever the situation is, and then return and rinse repeat over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah. The other day we had a besties member in custody, and initially it was across from Pillbox. You know, that little, it's like a little courtyard thing with some steps going up. You can go
Yes.
through to popular.
Yep.
So we had him there cuffed, and then they started coming in with cars. I was like, fuck this. I had him put him into the apartment building across the road, just south of Pillbox Medical, and then they couldn't drive their cars straight up to where the suspect was because we had barriers with stairs, with cops and stuff. And then not Miguel, turned up with Cassidy, who was Senior Buns not involved hostage. And I said, like, we're not going to do this. If you drive away, you're just going to get shot. So let's try and figure something else out. Ended up negotiating time down on his warrant and stuff like that, which went fine. But I don't really want to do that again, to be honest. I don't want that to be a habit.
I mean, did he like willingly surrender?
Well, so we had somebody. It was Lovemore, actually. Funnily enough, we had him in custody already. I said I'd half his time or whatever if they just left and gave us Cassidy back, and he said yeah and left. He gave us Cassidy, so that was good. But I don't always want to do that because it presented a bit.
You
of an
don't want it to be the
issue.
norm.
And exactly in processing, then we found he had a fucking disgustingly hot gun. So we still had to, you know, I didn't want to, like, his time was, I think it was 360, and we eventually halved it to like, I don't know, 150 or 200. I can't remember exactly what the exact number was. But yeah, like I said, it should have been way more because he had that hot gun, but it was awkward because obviously we don't know that until afterwards.
You didn't want it perceived as you not following through with essentially what you said. Yeah, no, I understand. That's definitely valid concern.
But I just really don't want to do that on the reg. I think if I have a shitload of cops, I'll probably just have them shot as soon as they give the hostage back. I really try and avoid that, you know. Like I let them know. You guys know as well as I do that as soon as you're leaving, you're getting shot. Regardless of whether you're friends in custody, regardless of whether you drop a gun and leave guns here, you're both getting shot as soon as you get in that car and leave. So let's try and do something else. And it went well in that particular point, but I don't know. Races are getting a bit more leery, I've seen. We've been going to a lot of races recently. Some of them seem to get personally offended when we chase them, which is quite funny.
Oh.
Or you get, you know, a decent human being like Ledson, who's a scumbag but also a nice guy at the same time, who doesn't get upset and pissy when you chase him. It's quite funny. I think it's only a few of them that seem to get pissy, which is good.
It's crazy because those people likely don't realize that them getting pissy and them treating PD like shit is going to be more like, I'm just saying, if I have a list of names of which I don't know half of them and I see one that was very specifically an asshole, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. You know, and I also think there's interesting expectations from some that we don't interfere until they're done with the race, which I've informed some of them that is simply not true. And if I decide to go and start pitting someone during the race, I can absolutely do that. It's the same as if I decide to start pitting somebody when the track is still on. It's not like that's hard encoded into my brain that I have to do every time. It's a common courtesy that we just do. you know. But if you're being a dickhead, all of that's off the table. So, you know.
I know that's
don't-
right.
yeah.
So unrelated, I ran into a situation today. Hot gun coming back to a gang related. It had been 10 hours prior that it had occurred, but like this person was saying that they had shot maybe like 5 or 6 hours prior to that in that same area. So I think we need to have a decent focus on making sure we're ideally documenting evidence in situations, but
I had
clearing
exactly the
it.
same issue as that the other day. I thought the thing that I was charging somebody for was from a different situation because of how the casings were laid out.
And it's
Also-
so tricky, man.
You guys know you can determine the age of a casing? Or how long it's been there?
You can.
No.
I
Yep.
didn't know that. No.
Is that on like in the VR or?
Yeah, so well, even in whatever you're looking at. So if you find a casing or let's say a DNA strain where the DNA strain isn't complete, it's because it's not as fresh as other stuff on scene. That's why.
Oh, I did know that. I did know that.
But the
Okay.
casing too.
Yeah. So if you
Oh,
get an incomplete casing, it's probably because it's old.
I don't think I've ever run into an
I've
incomplete
never
casing.
seen an incomplete casing.
Yeah, neither have
Really?
I.
Oh, maybe it's just DNA then. But it's that's something we found the other day, as well as no, but yeah, no, we couldn't determine. I just couldn't determine whether it was fresh or recent. I kind of wish that there was a way to determine that with casings and stuff we pick up, so that we're not getting stuff confused, like scenes all muddled together where they shouldn't be. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
people ultimately charging correctly as a result,
Yeah.
which isn't our fault. It's also not their fault. But I feel like we can
It's
do
just-
something to fix it.
It's shitty if, straight up, let's say someone got murdered at one of those locations where people be stealing cars and shooting locals on the daily. Could you imagine what would happen? Imagine there being 4 casings of 4 entirely uninvolved three uninvolved parties, and one was an actual murder. What are we going to do
God.
with the other ones? We would have no means of telling, like, which are which.
You
It's
know,
actually insane.
You know that there is a possibility that gun was actually on scene of that gang related,
Yes.
because those people that wear those backpacks are a part of that merchant things that you always see advertised.
Yep.
And I remember that time we were up at the LMOC and we were TJ, the one-armed guy, they'd shot Brixton.
Yes, I
We were
do
looking for the
distinctly
guns
recall
and
that.
stuff. When we were processing, me and Ricky were processing him at BCSO. He said, "What if I give you information on these merchants?" And he went on to say that apparently they go around and buy everyone's old weapons and all sorts of shit. They can get anything for you, and then they resell them. He said, "What if I set up a sting where I put an order in or whatever, and you guys move in and bust them or whatever?" I actually think he's good friends with them. I don't think it's even out of
So,
maliciousness or anything.
so the
Yeah, I
guy
wouldn't be
sounded
surprised.
genuine. I feel like I have a decent read on someone's being genuine and not just like trying to bullshit. Like he was specific as to when the shooting happened, and I even made it clear, like, even if you don't get gang related, you might cop a criminal use if you didn't call 911, blah blah blah. He was like, listen, if I need to get the gang related shooting charge, it is what it is. And that wasn't the only reason as to why I believed his story. It's just he was upfront and honest about everything. The projectiles matched exactly where he said they would. His casings were never actually found. And he indicated it would have been on the rooftop. I haven't checked. There was nothing on the rooftop, unfortunately. So they had been cleared at some point, or the evidence had been cleaned up. Here's the other thing. The gang related that it came back to was a Cyprus versus Hades. And a month ago, he wasn't a gang related with Cyprus. But I looked at the casings and projectiles. His projectiles landed where there were casings from another gun that had never been found. Or that wasn't located by any of the people who got arrested who were Hades. And so, and his DNA wasn't there. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I don't want to shaft this guy. But, like, this is also the only time I've ever had a defense of maybe there's, like, an overlapping situation. Because I I was not there 10 hours ago for a shootout. And then when he said it had happened prior or hours before that, as in, he said it happened like 5 minutes before this storm.